The fluorescent lights of Terminal 3 buzzed overhead as I sat on the cold metal bench, watching families embrace their loved ones, while mine disappeared into the crowd without so much as a backward glance. My name is Kamila Begum, and at 68 years old, I never imagined I would find myself abandoned at Karachi Airport by the very people I had sacrificed everything for. Let me take you back to where it all began, because this story isn't just about revenge. It's about a lifetime of giving, only to discover that kindness without boundaries becomes a curse. 50 years ago, I married Jamil Ahmed, a man my father chose for me. Back then, we didn't question such arrangements. Jamil was a good man, hardworking, and together we built a life from nothing. Our first child, Rashid, was born in 1976, followed by our daughter Nasreen in 1978, and finally our youngest, Tariq, in 1982. Those early years were a struggle. Jamil worked at a textile mill, earning barely enough to put food on the table. I took in sewing work, stitching clothes late into the night by lamplight while my children slept. My fingers bled from the constant needlework, but I never complained. Every rupee we saved went toward our children's education and a better future. When Jamil fell ill with tuberculosis in 1995, I became the sole breadwinner. I started a small catering business from our 2-room house, cooking for weddings and celebrations. The work was exhausting, standing for 16 hours a day, managing everything from purchasing ingredients to serving guests. But seeing my children excel in their studies made every sacrifice worthwhile. If you're enjoying this story of resilience and unexpected turns, please consider joining our community by hitting that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Rashid graduated as an engineer and moved to Dubai for work. Nasreen became a teacher and married a government officer. Tariq, my youngest, studied computers and eventually started his own software company. I was so proud. My children had achieved what I could only dream of. But success, I learned, has a way of changing people. After Jamil passed away in 2010, I expected my children to include me in their lives. Instead, I found myself increasingly isolated. Rashid would call once a month, always rushed, always distracted. "Ami, I'm very busy. The projects here are demanding," he would say. Nasreen lived just 20 minutes away but visited maybe twice a year, usually when she needed me, to babysit her children during school holidays. Tariq was different, or so I thought. He visited more frequently and would often say, "Ami, you've done so much for us. Now it's our turn to take care of you." Those words gave me hope that perhaps one of my children truly understood my sacrifices. By 2020, I had developed arthritis and high blood pressure. The house felt too big and empty. When Tariq suggested I sell it and move into a smaller apartment near his office, I agreed. "I'll help you find a nice place, Ami. Somewhere comfortable where you won't have to worry about maintenance," he assured me. I sold my house, the house where I had raised my children, where every corner held memories of their laughter and tears. The sale brought in a substantial amount, nearly 2 crores. Tariq helped me find a modest apartment and insisted on managing my finances. "Ami, you don't understand these modern banking systems. Let me handle the investments. I'll make sure your money grows." Trusting him completely, I signed over power of attorney. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Initially, Tariq was attentive. He would visit weekly, bring groceries, and update me on my investments. But gradually, his visits became less frequent. When I asked about my money, he would show me complicated papers and say, "Everything is doing well, Ami. The returns are good. Don't worry about these details." 2 years passed this way. Then, in early 2024, Tariq announced exciting news. "Ami, I've planned a family vacation to Thailand. All of us. Rashid is flying in from Dubai. Nasreen and her family will join us. It's my treat to everyone." I was overjoyed. Finally, after so many years, we would all be together. This is wonderful, Beta. How can I help with the arrangements? Just pack your bags, Ami. I've taken care of everything. We're all meeting at the airport on Saturday morning. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories of family drama and life lessons that will leave you speechless. The Saturday morning arrived with the excitement of Eid. I had packed my best clothes, bought gifts for my grandchildren, and even visited my hairdresser for the first time in months. At 68, I felt young again, anticipating this family reunion. At the airport, I spotted my children near the check-in counter. Rashid looked prosperous in his designer suit. Nasreen was busy managing her 2 teenagers, and Tariq was handling multiple boarding passes. The sight of them together filled my heart with such joy that tears came to my eyes. "Assalamu alaikum, my children," I called out, walking toward them with my small suitcase. That's when I noticed something strange. They all looked uncomfortable, exchanging glances I couldn't quite interpret. "Ami," Tariq approached me with a forced smile. "There's been a small change in plans." "What kind of change, Beta?" Rashid stepped forward, avoiding eye contact. "The thing is, Ami, we couldn't get an extra ticket for you. The flight is fully booked." I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. "What do you mean? You said this was a family vacation." Nasreen finally spoke, her voice cold and businesslike. "Ami, we tried, but it's peak season. Maybe you can join us next time." "Next time?" I whispered, feeling the eyes of other travelers on us. "But I've been looking forward to this for months." "You said—" "Look, Ami," Tariq interrupted, his patience wearing thin. "We can't miss this flight. The hotel bookings, everything is confirmed. You'll be fine at home for a week." I stood there, surrounded by my 3 children, feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. "You planned this trip without including me from the beginning, didn't you?" The silence that followed was my answer. "Tariq, the money you've been managing, my money from the house sale, you used it for this vacation, didn't you?" His face reddened. "Ami, this is not the time or place for this discussion." "When is the time, Beta? When you're not here? When you're too busy to take my calls?" Rashid checked his expensive watch. "We really need to go. Security lines are long." And just like that, they left. My 3 children, the ones I had given my life for, walked away toward the departure, gates without another word. Nasreen didn't even hug me goodbye. I sat on that cold bench for 4 hours, watching planes take off and land, wondering how I had raised such heartless children. The security guard approached me twice, asking if I needed help, but what could I tell him? That my own family had abandoned me. That evening, I returned to my small apartment with a heart full of rage and a mind surprisingly clear. For the first time in years, I saw my situation for what it truly was. I had been systematically deceived and financially abused by the children I trusted most. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss stories that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about family. The next morning, I called my nephew Asif, who worked at a bank. "Chacha, I need your help understanding my financial situation." What Asif discovered over the next few days shattered what remained of my illusions. Tariq had not invested my money. He had spent it. The 2 crores from my house sale had funded his software company's expansion, Rashid's Dubai apartment down payment, and Nasreen's daughter's private school fees. My bank account had barely 50,000 rupees left. "Kala," Asif said gently, "legally, since you gave him power of attorney, this might be difficult to challenge. But morally, this is theft." I spent that week alone, thinking deeply about my life choices. I had enabled this behavior by always saying yes, by never setting boundaries. by believing that unconditional giving would earn me unconditional love. But I wasn't completely powerless. I still had one card to play. When Tariq had booked their tickets, he had used my credit card, the one account he hadn't completely emptied, thinking I was too old to understand online banking. What he didn't know was that during the pandemic, my neighbor's daughter had taught me how to use internet banking. I called the airline's customer service. I need to cancel some tickets that were booked on my credit card. Certainly, madam. Can you provide the booking reference? I had memorized the numbers from the confirmation email Tariq had carelessly left open on his laptop during his last visit. These tickets are for travel tomorrow, and we can cancel them with a penalty, but you'll get most of your money back. Cancel them, I said without hesitation. The next day, as I sat in my living room with my morning tea, my phone started ringing. First Tariq, then Rashid, then Nasreen. I didn't answer. The messages started pouring in. Ami, what have you done? We're stranded in Bangkok. This is insane. How could you cancel our return tickets? Do you have any idea how much new tickets cost? I turned off my phone and enjoyed the most peaceful day I'd had in years. When I finally answered Tariq's call 2 days later, his voice was desperate. Ami, please, we need to come home. Our jobs, the children's school. Beta, I said calmly. I understand your situation. I also understand what it feels like to be abandoned when you need your family most. Ami, I'm sorry about the airport thing, but... You're sorry about the airport thing. What about stealing my life savings? What about lying to me for 2 years? What about treating me like I'm already dead? For the first time in decades, Tariq had no quick response. I'll tell you what, I continued. I'll help you with the return tickets, but we're going to have some changes around here. Over the next hour, I laid out my terms. First, complete transparency about my remaining finances. Second, a written agreement about repaying the money, taken without my consent. Third, regular family meetings where everyone's concerns could be discussed openly. And finally, respect. Basic human respect for the woman who had given them everything. And one more thing, I added. I'm moving back in with one of you. I'm too old to live alone, and after what you've put me through, I don't trust any of you to manage my affairs remotely. The silence on the other end was deafening. Those are my terms. You have 6 hours to decide who's taking me in, or you can figure out your own way home from Thailand. Nasreen called me within 2 hours. Ami, you can stay with us. I'm sorry about everything. We never meant for things to go this far. Meant for what to go this far, Beta? The lying or the stealing? Both, she whispered. We got caught up in our own lives and forgot what you mean to us. 3 days later, my children returned from their cut-short vacation, considerably humbler and significantly poorer. The emergency. Tickets had cost them nearly 3 lakhs, money they had to borrow from friends. The family meeting we held that weekend was unlike any conversation we'd ever had. For the first time, I spoke about my feelings, my disappointments, and my expectations. For the first time, they listened without interrupting or making excuses. Rashid broke down crying, admitting that his Dubai lifestyle had been funded partly by what he knew was my money. Ami, I convinced myself that I was borrowing it, that I'd pay it back when my business improved. But the truth is, I just took it because I could. Nasreen acknowledged that she had been selfish, always expecting me to be available for her convenience, but never considering my own needs. I treated you like a free babysitting service, not like my mother. Tariq's confession was the most painful. I started with good intentions, Ami. I really wanted to invest your money properly, but when my company faced problems, I used some of it as a loan. Then more problems came and I used more. Before I knew it, everything was gone, and I was too ashamed to tell you. The road to rebuilding our relationship wasn't easy. Trust, once broken, takes years to repair. But my dramatic action at the airport had achieved something years of gentle complaints had not. It forced them to see me as a person with agency, not just a convenient source of money and services. Moving in with Nasreen brought its own challenges. Her teenagers initially resented my presence, and her husband seemed uncomfortable with the arrangement. But gradually, we found our rhythm. I helped with cooking and homework supervision, while Nasreen ensured I had my own space and independence. More importantly, my children began including me in their decisions. When Rashid considered a job change, he consulted me. When our company faced new challenges, he sought my advice instead of my money. These small gestures meant more to me than any expensive gift. 6 months after the airport incident, we took another family trip. This time, a simple visit to Murray. And this time, I was included from the planning stage. As we sat around the hotel room, sharing stories and laughing together, Tariq said something that made my heart full. "Ami, I never realized how strong you are until you left us stranded in Bangkok. We always saw you as someone who needed taking care of, not someone who could take charge when necessary." "Beta," I replied. "I didn't want to be strong in that way. I wanted to be the loving mother who never had to fight for respect from her children. But sometimes, you have to break something completely before you can rebuild it properly." Looking back now, 18 months later, I realized that being abandoned at the airport was both the worst and best thing that happened to me in recent years. It was the worst, because it revealed how little my children valued me. It was the best, because it forced me to value myself. The money situation is still being resolved. Tariq's company is slowly recovering, and he makes regular payments toward what he owes me. Rashid sends money monthly from Dubai, and for the first time these aren't gifts or guilt payments. They're acknowledged debts being repaid with interest. But more than the money, what I've gained is something I had lost without realizing it: my dignity as a person deserving of respect and consideration. To other parents reading this, especially those of my generation who were taught that selfless sacrifice is the highest virtue, I want to share what I've learned. Loving your children unconditionally doesn't mean accepting unacceptable behavior. Teaching them to be independent doesn't mean making yourself completely dependent on their goodwill. Set boundaries. Ask questions about your finances if others are managing them. Don't be afraid to say no when requests become demands. Your children may resist initially, but ultimately, they'll respect you more for having standards. And sometimes, when gentle words fail, dramatic actions speak louder than years of complaints. My children learned that their old mother still had some fight left in her. More importantly, I learned that it's never too late to stand up for yourself, even if it means temporarily becoming the villain in your own family's story. Today, as I write this from Nasreen's house while she's at work and the grandchildren are at school, I feel something I hadn't felt in years: contentment. Not the desperate happiness that comes from others' approval, but the quiet satisfaction of knowing your own worth. The next time someone asks me about my greatest accomplishment, I won't mention raising 3 successful children. I'll talk about the day I found my spine at 68 and used it to rebuild my family's respect for me. Sometimes the best gift you can give your children is showing them that their actions have consequences. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable their selfishness. And sometimes canceling a few plane tickets is exactly the wake-up call everyone needs. As for that airport bench where I sat abandoned and heartbroken, I drove past it last month while dropping Nasreen at the airport for a work trip. This time, she hugged me tight before leaving and called me the moment she landed to let me know she was safe. Some benches are meant for sitting in despair. Others become the launching pad for the rest of your life. I chose the latter, and I've never looked back.